It's going. Hey, you guys.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is SaraJane, you guys. This is not QAnon Sarah.
No.
This is Sarah. She's the one that was in the first season. And she comes in and she doesn't know what party she's at. That is not this Sarah. SaraJane, my beautiful guest, is on season 2. She's good friends with Angie Harrington, and they're sitting on the couch planning the casino night
with Lisa.
And Lisa's purportedly, as we saw in the reunion tonight, comes and tries to sabotage the event. So anyway, say hi, SaraJane.
Hi, you guys. I'm so excited to be here. This is so much fun. And I honestly have been looking forward to it all day. I've been oh my gosh, I had to hurry and watch the reunion because it didn't air here until later, taking all my notes.
I'm really proud of you. Me too. I did it also. Okay. Now, you guys, SaraJane has already gone on Dishing Drama Dana in the Patreon and done a 2-parter and was epic. Okay. So
it was a lot of fun. We had so much fun.
We did. And we kept a lot of that really specialty on there for a reason. So we'll keep it light on that front here today, but we will still share our insights, of course. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, you guys, whoever's in here, what'd you think of the reunion? Give me some comments. Let's see some comments. I have to put my glasses on. I feel so old. You guys, my birthday's March 1st.
Yay, Dana! Happy birthday, Kate. Is it inappropriate? I feel like I can't even ask how old you are, but I can guess.
I'm really old. I'm ridiculously old, and that's all you have to say. But I'm very wise. I'm a wise little Dana.
You look very young.
I haven't done the plastic surgery yet. I still have a whole nother face I can do. So we have,
You know what's funny? I feel like I already have my facelift planned out. Somebody told me you're supposed to get a facelift before you actually need it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I already need it. Have I passed that point?
Everybody's talking about the strings that disintegrate in your face. So what I've been told I have to have done by doctors is my nose needs to be lifted up because it's old looking, I guess, as your nose drops. And then I was told that I have to get strings in my face that
Wait, I have to tell you, you know what you need to do? And it's not surgery. I did this. I got the liquid rhinoplasty or whatever. It's just filler in your nose. And they put a little bit here and it just lifts your nose ever so slightly. And it's totally painless.
Well, your nose looks freaking great, lady. So SaraJane, thank you. Okay, so SaraJane, you guys, to give you a little introduction, SaraJane has been casting for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And the reason that she is with us today is because she decided, after going through the stress of the casting process, which is really stressful, that she didn't want to pursue it. And I'll let you tell the quick story, SaraJane.
Yeah. So I was on last season for season 2. It was so much fun. I mean, it is definitely a wild ride. You get roped into this crazy amount of drama that you're whoa, I don't even know how to function without talking about this constantly, without just bringing it into your life in every aspect. So this season, I kind of went through the casting process again. It was okay, I can do it. It's going to be fun. I already kind of have my foot in the door. And then my husband and I together decided it's just not the best thing for me. Kind of health-wise, I've kind of had some health problems with my heart that I found out back in December. And with my husband and my doctor talking to me, they're you can't have stress right now. You just need to have fun. And so honestly, I kind of had to say no to that opportunity. Although I feel for me, I saved myself from a lot of the drama too, because what people don't realize is going on the show, it's somebody's real life. And so all these things start getting talked about you. And you're like, oh my gosh. And then it happens during the season while it's going on. And then it airs. And then the whole world is saying stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, you know what? I just don't think it's right for me. But I have the best opportunity now because I get to be with you, Dana.
And you get to give me the tea.
Yeah. So it's fun. I loved everybody on the cast. I mean, I felt like I got along with most of the producers and stuff, and like it was such a fun experience. But I think for me, I made a wise decision. Nobody gets off that show unscathed, and I mean, I think I might have. I mean, we don't know.
You did because, well, let's just say this. Okay. So you're Angie Harrington, who came up a lot on the Reunions neighbor. You're also a really good friend of Angie's, which is
Angie's like one of my best friends. Lives right down the street.
And very tough situation to go on the show with a real friend, because as you guys know, didn't end well for me and Taylor. But what I will say about that is what I told SaraJane when we were chatting, because I do talk to some of the wives on the different franchises, and what we were talking about was how you can't really be friends with your friends anymore when you go on the show, because you can't.
And that was a big thing for me, because if Angie was possibly going to go on season 3.
Thank you, Carol. Sorry, I got really.
Oh, yay!
It's a super sticker.
Early birthday for that's amazing.
Oh, happy to see. Oh, look. Oh, she lives in the rainforest.
They're flooding in. I love it.
Okay.
But anyway, Angie is one of my best friends, and so for me, I just know on the show, you can't remain, you become just work friends. Yeah. And I wanted to keep that friendship with her. And also, Meredith is one of my really dear friends. I love her so much. I wanted to keep that friendship. Heather and Whitney are my friends, wanted to keep that friendship. And I get along great with Jen Shaw. And so I wanted to keep that. And I knew going on the show, you have to say specific things and you have to do specific things, and it ruins, for me, it would have ruined friendships. And I was like, nope. Even like Lisa, I mean, we aren't close at all anymore. I mean,
you guys were close. So you and Angie and Lisa were tight, weren't you?
We were. And the show ruined our friendship.
Yeah.
So it's just that happened right there, you know? And so anyway, I just kind of had to think to myself, you know, I can go forward with this. It could be a fun, amazing experience, but I think I'm going to ditch it.
Well, let's get into the reunion a little bit. So we start out with a black sign on the television set saying that Jenny's not, her posts aren't going to be addressed.
The first thing I have on here.
It was like like don't turn the television off warning message, I guess.
Yeah.
That Jenny, you know, her posts weren't going to be addressed because obviously there was like a lot of discussion about racism from different viewpoints. So I thought that was interesting. We then move off that and we get to Lisa I have a question about Lisa. Is she tight with her husband? Because she never kisses him on the mouth. Have you noticed that? Like,
you know what? I have actually noticed that. Like,
yeah.
But she could be like one of those people that's maybe not PDA. I mean, I don't know a lot about their relationship. I truly don't. But from what I have seen, I feel like she has a very tight, like she runs that household. She is the one in control, big time.
Right. Are they PD? Do they ever make out? That's what I want to know. Do they? Have you ever seen them hot and heavy?
No.
Right.
Okay. Never. I mean, I can't really even imagine like Lisa, like kiss. It would be like a kiss like this, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine it. Like some people, you look at them and you're like, oh, I can imagine. Like they're just like so hot together. I don't know, you know, but it's like with them, I just cannot even picture it.
Okay. So now so one of the things now because we're gonna get, don't worry, you guys. I see your messages are curious about the church and all that. We'll get there. What I wanted to say was, what did you think about, what did you say? Dana, did you think any of the ladies were your real friends when you were on? I thought that Kyle was a real friend, Richards. I thought Taylor was a real friend. I thought Adrian could be a friend. We could get close. I thought Camille liked me and wanted to be friends with me. And I thought Lisa didn't want anything to do with me. And frankly, and Taylor, I thought was my good friend. I thought she was one of my best friends in real life, much like SaraJane's saying here. But it turned out that the show trumps friendship, because fame is way more important to people, unfortunately, than friendship. I don't know why, but that is just the way it is.
That is so true. I mean, if anybody listened to, am I allowed to say like a little bit what we talked about on our podcast?
Yeah, of course you can.
So if you listen to the podcast that Dana and I were on, I talked about that a little bit, like right from the very beginning. Lisa and Heather were like totally friends. And then I had conversations with both of them about the show. I was getting information from Heather, which I thought was accurate, and she did too. It was not her fault. Lisa's getting information, and the show literally just like, it trumps everything. It trumps your relationships. It trumps everything. All of it. And so
it's also a popularity contest, because secretly everyone's like, is Heather getting too much camera time?
Who gets
getting a better edit? Why does she get the better edit? The producers love her. They're up her ass. Let's, how do we call her on her?
Sit next to Andy Cohen in the reunion. I mean, these are all things that these women really kind of think about.
Yeah, they really say that.
It's kind of sad in a way. I feel like the one on the show that isn't as much like, doesn't really care so much about like being front and center of the spotlight all the time is Meredith. I feel like she, in my opinion, I feel like
sorry. Every once in a while, I do a happy birthday dance. Go ahead. Sorry.
But I feel like Meredith, she is not like starving for that attention, in my opinion. I feel like on the cast, like me looking at the women that, how I know them, she to me is like the most mature.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Okay. Now let's hold that for a second.
Yeah. I have notes about that later.
Okay. So, because we're going to get into that and we're going to maybe argue that one. Okay. So Andy, what did you think about Andy Cohen? You guys chime in if you want, saying, Jen, I know there's been rumors that Erica Girardi, Jane Chahoy,
that's the very next thing I had
got the questions before the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion season 11. But I want you to know that didn't happen. And so you're not getting the questions, but don't feel slighted because I didn't give them to Erica. Now, why the hell would he even say it? What do you think that was about?
Honestly, for me, I felt, wow, yes. Yes.
Casey Hanley, is that you secretly pretending to be lit? I'm just kidding. I know it's not him. Thank you, Lit. We really appreciate your support. We're going to keep spilling tea now.
We're going to spill tons. So for me, I feel like he said that because I think people were assuming that Erica got the questions before. Do I think that she did? I don't. I mean, I kind of know how things work, and they like to catch people off surprise. They're not going to give them that information before. They want you to be like stunned. I mean, they don't even like you talk, like as cast members, they don't even like you talking off camera, even if like you're good friends with them. Like you have to save that for camera. Yeah,
exactly. So I thought that was kind of shady of him because it like put her on edge.
Her face?
Yeah.
She was like, oh, thanks for letting me know. okay, it's going to be brought up. Do you think he said it to kind of make her know, like, this is going to be brought up?
Yeah. Like, oh, totally. He's shady. And he's shady. You guys think he's he's shady. Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's see. What do you think about, were you happy that Whitney called Mary a predator, or unhappy with that comment, SaraJane? Knowing, you don't know Mary, do you?
I know Mary a little bit. I do not know her well. We've only met a few times and our encounters have been great. I will say our encounters that we've had, the conversations have always been a little odd, but
Right.
I mean, it's Mary, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, so yes.
You think she's a predator,
Do I think Mary's a predator?
like Whitney said?
I do not think Mary's a predator. I think
I do.
You do. You think she's a predator. Yeah. I don't think she's a predator. I think the women came after her most sacred thing, which was her church.
Yes.
And I think
the cash flow.
Yeah. And I guess for her, it is her cash flow. But for me, like being very active in my faith, I mean, I don't get any money from my church. And like I pay money to my church.
Yeah, you have to pay. Okay, so SaraJane, tell everybody and we do need to get into this a little bit to explain why we're bringing it up. Okay, so what is your religion, so that everybody knows?
So I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. People in the past have called us Mormons. We don't like to be called that anymore. It's like a nickname we don't use anymore. But Heather was a member. She actually is still a member. She's just not active anymore.
Whitney, she was in your church, right? Your branch or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Whitney used to be a member, and Lisa claims to be Mormon 2.0, but that's like her own religion she's made up. It's not a real thing. You're either in or out.
Right, right. And one of the things, because I know some of you guys are familiar, that SaraJane, because I can see the comment, had said some stuff about that you were sticking up for your church, and Heather was sort of like, left the church, and you stuck up for that in social media a little.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how that plays off, because rather than get into, whose religions, what's religions thing, what really I want to talk about is it as it relates to the show. So what do you think they wanted you to do on the show when they were casting you with Heather, since you were public about being into your faith versus wanting to leave your faith?
Okay, so it's very interesting because I had already gone through a lot of the casting process when I went public on social media about my religion and the things that Heather said. And I didn't even use Heather's name when I went on and said that. I didn't say anybody's name. I just said there were things. The church that I'm a member of has been misrepresented. Yep. And I kind of just set the record straight. And I said, I don't feel comfortable with these things being said. At that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be on the show anymore. They're not going to like what I did. But I think they actually liked it more.
Yes.
Because they knew that I would have an opinion about that. And I think that they wanted Heather and I to potentially have conversation and argument about that. For me,
that would have been epic, by the way. Epic.
What?
You and Heather having it out from those two perspectives would have been epic.
It honestly would have been.
You would have wanted to die at the time, but it would have been awesome TV.
It would have been the best TV ever. And I'm telling you right now, if I wanted to go on the show, I could be the most epic housewife. I could have said boom, boom, boom.
No,
boom.
you could have.
I know a lot.
It doesn't take a lot in that town, though. You just throw glasses, just randomly, just start chucking shit. You're good.
You just go crazy and say a few colorful things and you're on. But anyway, when I did that on social media, I was like, oh, they're not going to want me, but I guess it made them want me more. And for me and Heather, they wanted me so bad to argue with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really have to think about things. If I want to argue with her, and I was ready to have a conversation.
It's hard to argue about religion on national TV, especially when it's already been depicted by, in the way that Heather has positioned it for her truth. was
yes. And
that
she has the right to tell the story. And
exactly.
I cannot debate that.
No, and you have a right to defend.
And I did. And that's
that's the tough thing though, right? Because
exactly.
It's tough.
It's so tough. But they really wanted me to go head to head with Heather at casino night at Angie's house. And I, at that moment, was like, oh my gosh, okay, like I'm gonna have to go talk to her. It was right after they give.
Is she intimidating to shoot with?
Heather?
Yeah.
You know what? No,
easy.
Just because I know Heather, I've known Heather for years. Like, so I don't know if the viewers know this. Heather and I have been friends for like 7 years. I was an ambassador at Beauty Lab, and she found me through my cousin. We became good friends. Heather seriously is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. So It's just an easy friendship. She's just like super chill. She's super nice, The show definitely brings out more of like a feisty side of her.
Right.
And you saw that a little bit on the reunion.
Oh my God. I was like, who's in Heather? Like she was really going for it.
Yeah. Especially towards Lisa. But I think Lisa has terrorized her to the point where Heather is like, I'm not going to take this anymore. You know what I
really
mean?
want to hear about that because she came across a little bit intense. And I think it's good to have the backstory that about that. So we've established, I think, that you were supposed to kind of go in and start, at the casino night. It was going to be Angie versus Lisa about the caterer. It was going to be you versus Heather about your religious differences.
Right.
And you went in and you went to a place of like, I don't really want to fight with my friend. I just want to like say, I'm sorry that I like made you feel bad about how how did that go?
For sure. And it was at that moment too. Had it had been another conversation, like where it were just Heather and I, like we were having lunch together, I think I would have, I would have totally gone head to head with her. But at that moment, they just did this like amazing. What does that say?
I know it's hard to talk. You'll get used to it. Sarah's going to come on every week, you guys, and we're going to do all 3 parts together.
Yeah,
ready. So we can bring in, because we have so much, and her and I both have a lot of insight into the people and sort of some behind the scenes stuff that you guys may not be aware of that's playing out at the reunion, that I thought that would be really fun for you all, and SaraJane's so cool, and she doesn't drink, so she can keep me grounded as like,
what do I have right here?
Spin off the deep end.
This is actually a Dr. Pepper.
She's very healthy, and I am the opposite. So sometimes that
Dr. Pepper. This is like pure sugar.
No, for me that's healthy because All right. So
back to Heather. So they wanted me to fight with her at that moment. They had just done this beautiful speech about like the In Circle. It's a charity for LGBTQIA community, and there is a misconception that members of the church are anti-gay, which is not true. We can get into that another time too. I can understand why people would assume that or see that, but it is not true. Anyway, I thought going into that conversation, they just do this beautiful speech. My husband kind of grabs my arm and he like gives me this look and he's like, you better be careful. Like somehow they could potentially spin this. Right. And like now you're being disrespectful right after this like speech. They could potentially, and it's about the church that they want you to talk about. Somehow they could make you look anti-gay. And I was like, oh, Nick, you're right. And so I was like, you know what? This is the decision I have to make. I can be on the show forever. Or I can just like do what I morally know that I need to do. Other people might not think that's like the right thing to do. But for me, because I'm very committed to my faith and my family, I was like, this is what I have to do. And my goal with Heather was to always like make amends. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. If production likes it, they like it. If they don't, then I'm out. Went up to Heather and I just said, Heather, I want you to know I love you. We've been friends for so long. I would love to have a conversation with you about like our differences, about things that, I said you can't. Okay. little side note, you can't talk about like social media on the show. So you have to like reword all your stuff and it's kind of hard. So I went up to her. I was like, I'm sorry that I, said things to like the friend group or to people about, things that had been said about the church that you and other people had said. And I just basically said, maybe we could have a conversation about it another time. But like, I just want you to know, I'm truly sorry. I should have gone about it another way. And I just want to be mature about it. And just like, maybe we can put this in the past. And
she was like, okay.
Well, kind of. So
no.
I didn't say this in the podcast that we did.
What?
But I know this is some tea.
Spill
She started to try to fight. And I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. And she says this to me, you guys are going to die.
Okay,
I was like,
tell it.
She goes, what are you even doing here? You just want to hang out with us cool women.
What?
Yeah, I was like,
did we just get done the reunion where she said, don't try to be an 8th grade teen magazine mean girl? That's kind of 8th grade teen magazine mean girl.
Yeah. So anyway, I think in the moment, it was just like, she just said it. I think I looked at her though, and I had to bite my tongue.
But that's so weird because she's like your friend, like in real life.
And I honestly, like, Angie didn't really know Heather at this time. They're great friends now, and we're all great friends now. This is water under the bridge, but I have to. But anyway, I look at her and I literally bite my tongue and I just said, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way. I was invited to this party just like you were, but I wanted to literally be like, listen, we all voted and you were the last one voted in here. Like, because Angie didn't even know.
Obviously, you guys, there's like this whole secret thing happening. I was appalled by one thing in the reunion. Please do not show me a bunch of crap in the reunion that did not play out on television. Okay? Because like a good 15 minutes of the stuff on the reunion was stuff that we didn't really follow on the show.
Right. It's like stuff that happens behind the show. You're like, wait, where did this come from?
Yeah. I was like, wait, Angie, how's Angie in here now? Like, what's happening with the Lego and the Angie? And by the way, I want to get into that because I really have to. I have to set the record straight for that too. Yeah. Yes, we do.
On Angie's behalf.
Okay, so it sounds to me like Heather was. I would say this. I'm going to give Heather a break here. I think she was trying to get you going.
She was.
So you could attack because Heather is nice and she knows how hard it is to attack.
Yeah.
And so what she was trying to do, I think, was to give you something to really go for her for.
And you know what?
And you didn't take it. So then she's like, oh, shit, there you go.
I think so, too. And I think she, in a way, like in a weird, twisted way, she was trying to like throw me a bone.
She was.
If I blink twice, that means fight with me, So anyway, and I just wasn't willing to do it because you know what? The little fights that happen, even if it's just kind of like, well, you said this, you said that, on the show, they turn into big fights and then it's real feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And my religion was something where I was like, I am not willing to bend or break for that. So anyway, it was just really important for me at that moment to stand true to my faith.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we're moving down the list here. So Jen Shah's trial's March 22nd. Right now, they're probably going to push it out. That's the word on the street. How are you feeling about Jen Shah in her trial? Is the town in Salt Lake City in like an uproar? Is like everyone, I don't know, or is everyone just not talking about it? What's happening?
Okay, I feel like whenever Housewives is brought up, it's the first thing that is asked. Like, oh my gosh, is Jen Shah going to prison? That is the question that I get asked all the time. What is this?
It's okay. Wait, what is this? Okay. Love you, Dana, but I do not agree. I spent 31 years inside. It's a C word. So she has a different viewpoint.
She does. And you know what? It's interesting.
And you're not the first person.
Yeah. The way Heather was raised in the church is a completely different way than I was raised in the church.
Plus, there's
I felt
probably,
like,
are there different branches of your church?
no.
So they're all done by the same like
Yes.
head organization.
Yes. So I feel like for that person that just made that comment,
Yeah.
in her opinion, maybe she had a bad experience, or maybe I don't know her story. But for me, it has been a beautiful, wonderful thing that I love so much. It brings me peace. It brings me joy. And so nobody can take that away from me.
No, and
Nobody.
I don't actually really have a religion. I like don't exist in real life. I'm like civilly dead. I have no religion. I'm like, you know, I sort of live on the outskirts of, you know, I'd be like the person that lived on the edge of the reservation, like it couldn't
Oh
come
my
in or
gosh.
whatever. Yeah, that would be me. So, you know, I think I try to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
I only get upset when I hear someone being abused, or children being abused, or financial people taking money and misusing the money for like personal gains and not the community that the church is involved in, or negative like connotations or cons, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, I mean, you know, I think if your church is not doing that to you, and it sounds like in your situation it isn't, you know, you embrace it. It's all good, right? I mean,
Right. And you know what?
and you can leave.
You
Like
can
you
leave.
can, like you guys don't chase, you know, the person like Scientology, or do
Yeah.
you?
I'm always really surprised when people like leave the church and all they can do is like talk negatively about it. I'm like, just leave it alone. Like,
Yeah.
just leave it alone. It's really hard to leave alone. I understand when you've had a bad experience, it's hard to leave it alone. But for me, it's a beautiful thing for me and my family. I cherish it. I love it. It means something to me, and
Sure.
nobody can take that away from me. And anybody who tells me otherwise is not a true friend to me, or is trying to. I have never been argued into anything. I've only been like persuaded by love and like, you know what I mean? Empathy and stuff. And the church has done that for me. So
Yeah, listen, all organized religion has its issues. You know, like,
yeah, and you know what? The church is run by humans,
yeah.
and humans are not perfect. We are so far from perfect. So like there's
you guys, listen, I love the different perspectives, right? I love, you know, Heather Gay has her strong perspective. You have yours. Like that would have been really fun to see play out.
you guys, it would have been so
how Heather represents a group and you represent it.
Yeah, like I'm sorry to everybody who watches the show that, oh, I need a coaster. I just put it on my, oh, dang it, Nick. Do like how I yell at my husband. Anyway, I love different point of views, and it would have been so epic, like for that argument, or
yeah,
you know,
totally.
and I apologize to everybody for not doing that. For me, like I morally couldn't at that moment.
I get that. It's okay. Listen, it's okay.
Maybe me and Heather will like role play it one time just for fun.
That would be good. You guys could get on your Insta and do it. Okay.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
So tell me about Jen Shah. Like, how's the community dealing with Jen Shah and his trial?
So whenever Housewives brought up, it's like the first thing that is said. They're like, oh my gosh, is Jen Shah going to prison? And what's going on? When's her trial? Like, what do you know? This and this and that. And people are very, very curious about what's going to happen to her. They're like, do you think she's innocent? What do you think? What do you know? What do you know? I'm like, I don't know anything. Like, I wish I had some major TV.
Well, okay. So SaraJane does say on the Dishing Drama Dana her thoughts on this, but we're going to keep that in the Patreon.
In the Patreon. But I'll kind of like dish
allude.
Do I think that Jen is guilty? I hope she's not. I really, really, Heather comes off as a teenage girl. Oh, maybe.
She does. Actually, she does in the reunion. We're going to get to that. I don't disagree with that tonight.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not a fan, but I don't disagree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, for me with Jen Shah, I hope she's innocent. Like, I really truthfully hope that she's innocent. I'm so glad I don't have to be the judge. Like, that would be the worst
jury.
like, or the jury, like, oh my gosh, like the worst. But from all the information that I have gathered and everything that I have read, it's hard for me to not believe that she's
guilty.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to kind of say that because I really like Jen. Like, she's super fun. She's super like, Jen, you know, but I think she got herself into some shady stuff. I don't even know though if she knew what she was doing.
Sure.
I give her that benefit of the doubt. I think that she did not even know what she was doing was potentially illegal or like gonna slam her in prison, you know, but it's her trial is wild. Like, it's so crazy how everybody has like taken a deal and she's still claiming the innocence. Like, I don't understand. And she just truthfully thinks she's so innocent. So it's like, do I believe her? I mean, I don't know, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough fight because, you know, without going into too much detail, because we talked about this on the Patreon, I would say, you know, it's an expensive fight. She has to get some serious experts to counter the evidence that the prosecution's now bringing forward in a jury because they've already presented what they're going to be putting forward. And it's tough. I mean, it's a complex case on top of it, you know?
It's so complex. I have some notes written here. So Andy, my first note was like, I kind of felt bad for her. Like, right when they started talking about her, I'm like, oh, like I kind of feel bad for her watching the show. Like, my heart kind of broke for her a little bit when she started talking about her family and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, just because like I know her, like,
no, it's gonna nuke her life. What are you talking? She like, you know, she's looking at 7 years in prison.
Yeah, it sucks. And like, she was asked the question, do you think it's smart to still be on the show?
Yeah.
Andy asked her that. And in my opinion, I don't think so. I think if like I were in her situation, I would ditch the show so quickly.
So why is she, you know, Jen, why is she still on the show? Really? Not why she said the reunion. What do you think?
My honest opinion is I think this is like the last thing she has. She's like, this is the one thing that like really hasn't like been taken away from me. I'm just going to go on and just like keep it going, keep this train going while I can. And hopefully when she's out of prison, like the world hasn't ended yet. And
yeah, I know.
Come back on.
Let's hope that happens.
Cross our fingers. But I do a little bit think that Jen loves attention and she just loves to be in it
on TV.
On TV. I mean, I think anybody who's like on the show, they do want to go on the show. You at least kind of want to be famous.
Oh no. Yeah, no, everyone wants to be famous.
So it's like, if you're going on the show and you're like, oh no, I don't want to be famous. So then don't go on the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally.
So I think that's a reason for her. I think she's like just in the groove and just wants to stay in it and be able to kind of like have that identity too. I don't know. I think she said even like her attorney said, no, don't do the show.
Yeah, no attorney would tell her because everything she does on the show can be used against her.
Yeah. And also like her glamorous lifestyle. It's like, okay, well, where did you buy that? Where did you buy that? Where did the money come from? This and this. There's all a lot of like things that are questionable that would make you think like, I'm not going to do this show anymore. But she did. I did find it interesting too, that she this season on the reunion, it went and backtracked so many apologies. There were apologies over and over and over that she was giving. And so anyway.
Hi, Scott. I'm sorry. I love this. I love Scott. Yeah.
But she had so many apologies like this season. It was just like apology here, apology there. Okay. This is the thing that I find a little bit interesting. From the very, very first episode.
Right.
That was aired. There were apologies. This was before the beauty lab bus situation, all of that had been filmed. And she's doing all these apologies, which isn't like, it didn't really seem like Jen. Normally she'd carry the fight. So I had wondered if maybe she knew something was going to go down, or maybe something like that. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to try to stay nice. I'm going to do apologies to kind of make up for what she was doing.
Well, she knew she was being investigated for like the last few years. You know that, right? The whole time.
Oh, I didn't know she knew that.
Yeah, no, she was investigated by the FTC years ago.
Okay.
And so like, or a company she was related to. So she knew that people were looking at her. She just didn't know when they might come.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what I don't get about Jen is I heard she kind of threatens people, and like she has this kind of darker side. And I've heard it over and over again.
Yeah. It's never happened to me, but I have seen it.
Right. And so I'm like, it's this strange dichotomy of that woman, of like, she seems like she's fun loving and nice, but then she threatens people.
Yeah.
So where's that? Like, and that's a dynamic I wouldn't be comfortable with on the show. That would really bother me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, you don't want to be threatened.
Well, and that's what happened with Meredith. Meredith got really serious threats, which is why she involved a private investigator. They make it light on the show, but that's what happened.
Yeah. And I think I don't believe that Meredith had anything to do with Jen being indicted.
She didn't.
At all. Like nothing. So when they were saying that, I was like, oh, brother.
That was their way of bringing it on the show. The producers were like, shit, let's think of something really quick. What could we come up with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, that was lame.
Not even for a second. Do you think Meredith Marks, they're calling the FBI? Hi, FBI.
Yeah. No, it's so dumb.
You know what I mean? Like that's not happening. I don't think.
That was like really bad producer thing.
Right.
Like that's when you know, like it's insulting. Like the fans are like a little bit more abreast than that. Come on, you know, like anyway. Exactly. I hate when they don't treat the fans smart. It bugs me. It really does. It always has. Okay, so all right. I want to talk about Angie's trip to Cabo with the group. By the way, she was like, we're leaving for the birthday. And I'm like, thanks. Where's my invite, bitch? No.
We're friends. Invite me.
I was like, Angie. I'm like, really? Okay. So, but anyway, I probably would have, like, if I'd gotten there, it would have been bad for all of you guys. So it's okay. But what about, tell me about the birthday. How was it? Heather went, Whitney went. Let's get the tea.
It was probably the most, I will never experience anything like that ever again. It was the most amazing trip I have ever been on.
Thanks, Angie, if you're watching.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Chris Harrington, for inviting me to Cabo. I really appreciate it. Like, honestly,
you owe me, Angie.
Everything on that trip was seamless, except for one thing that I will talk about. Everything was seamless from the moment we got there. Like, we get to this beautiful house right on the ocean. It's like made of glass and like, oh my gosh, it was called Casa Ocho.
Okay.
Beautiful. There is like a full staff. Like the moment I got off like the Sprinter van, it was literally somebody like pulling my bags to my room. I did not even think about anything the rest of the trip. I couldn't even think that I was thirsty. They were giving me a Diet Coke like before I could even think it.
Wow.
It was incredible. The one problem that we had, we were going to dinner the second night that we were there to this place called Manta at the Cape. It's like, it looks over Lover's Beach. It's a beautiful, breathtaking like sight. Anyway, we get there and there's like a gate. We're all sitting there like in the Sprinter vans. And she's like, Angie Harrington, birthday party. Like Angie says this and they're like, we don't have your reservation. And she's like, excuse me? Like, this is for
Lisa Barlow, you bitch, you came between me and
no, I honestly was like, I think at one point I was like,
that would have been epic. She should have done that.
Did Lisa know about this and try to sabotage your
birthday
party? But anyway, we were like, oh my gosh. And I guess like something happened with the concierge. Anyway, they got us in and it ended up being wonderful. It was so much fun. That was the only thing that happened that was like not perfectly seamless, but it was a blast. It was.
What was the deal? Let me back, like, to say this to you. Okay. Now let's talk about, why did Angie Harrington invite Heather Gay and Whitney on this trip, but yet she sent a like screenshot of a Lego figure, allegedly body shaming Heather to Lisa Barlow in regards to casting?
Okay.
Like, tell me this, set the record straight.
Lisa was friends. Well, Angie was friends with Lisa first. They had been friends for a very long time. She did not know Heather. She'd never even had one conversation with her. Maybe one, but it was like, hi, you know?
Right.
So she was getting a lot of information about Heather from Lisa. And it's kind of like almost girl code a little bit, like, oh my gosh, I don't like her. And then your friend's like, oh, I don't either. I don't even know her though. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those things. But then once Heather and Angie met, they kind of like hit it off a little bit. And Angie realized that Lisa was trying to manipulate that friendship big time. So the whole thing with the Lego figure, which is so stupid that Lisa even brought it up, is because I guess Lisa and her family had always referred to Heather as a Lego figure. They're like, yeah, she's just like a block, like a Lego figure. That's how Lisa and her family had always referred about Heather. And so anyway, Angie knew this because she's friends with her. She was driving and sees this big blow up Lego before she even knows Heather, and takes a picture of it and says something along the lines like what she wrote when she texted
Casting or something.
Was, like, yeah, something like the newest member of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Just trying to be funny. That's Angie. Angie is so funny. And like,
no, what happened was Angie got peer pressured in by Lisa.
Yeah, exactly.
Bitch to Heather.
Oh, for sure. And
that's what Lisa does.
That's exactly what she does. She, like, when she said, when they were talking about Lisa on the reunion, like manipulating these friendships, and Lisa's like, I don't do that. I was baffled. Like my face, I think I was like, oh my gosh, like just take some accountability.
Well, she showed the text messages. So she planted all these seeds. Now, Angie went along with it, which I'm sure she's embarrassed. I know she apologized to Heather about it.
We did. Okay, that's another thing too. There is nothing that has happened now with Heather, Whitney, and Angie, and me included, that they don't know about. Lisa could throw anything. Like, you said this about her. Yeah, I know that. That's before we were really close friends. And we actually already know that. It's funny now.
Yeah, because they all apologized. You guys all apologized for what you did or said or whatever.
But anything in the past has been forgiven.
And what happened was Lisa kind of peer pressured negativity in the group. And then she got people to be like mean girls, basically. Mm-hmm. And then she shared it with the producers and people in the group to make the people who sent it look bad. So they're thinking that they're shading, each other in confidence, like quietly, but that's not what Lisa's doing. She's like sharing it to cause the issue.
Lisa keeps receipts of everything. I think she has a folder for each person on the cast. It's like receipts for Angie, receipts for Heather, receipts for and so at any moment she can like pull it up and be like, here you go.
Yeah, but why did the receipts, what didn't work for me tonight was, I know that Angie really believed that Lisa did stop her, came in between her and the catering event. But then when Lisa pulled out the receipts at the reunion, it sounds like they were like, we have to choose. We can't probably film both your parties. Like, we can't do Lisa's party on the show. We can't do Angie's party on the show. So, who do we go with? And it sounds like Lisa didn't say anything. So like, what the hell? Yeah. I didn't get that. I was like, huh?
Honestly, while you were
put it on the show
saying it, like my blood started boiling. Okay. I have seen those text messages from between the caterer and Angie with my own eyes.
Mhm.
I've seen the entire text thread. What was read tonight by Andy was not in sequence and was not accurate.
What?
Like, I wish they would have shown them. Like, it was almost as if
So
they
tell
were
me what it said really, because that's like more annoying than anything, because I don't want the Lisa Barlow storyline and I don't want Andy like not reading it right. I want the truth. So what is it? What?
So Angie reached out to the caterers and was like, hey, and these are like well-known caterers in our community. Angie has used them before. Like, the husband went to high school with me. Like, we know them. They're nice people. And so anyway, Angie reaches out to them and was like, hey, I have an event. Would you want to cater it? Like, this and this and this. It's for housewives. Would you want to do it? And they were excited. They were like, yes, like, that sounds great. We need to like talk to our manager, but like, that sounds great.
Sorry, we have to stop and acknowledge the Patreon. Michelle, thank you for supporting me. Without you, I wouldn't eat.
Thank you, Michelle. Dana can eat now.
Thank you.
She can drink her wine.
Yes.
Or her, what is that even? I don't know.
Rosé.
Rosé. Okay. I don't know anything about alcohol at all.
That's okay. It's okay. I love the detail in your house and the behind your head. It's so nice. Just saying.
Okay. Anyway, back to the Angie Lisa situation. So I've seen the text messages that it basically said like, yes, we would love to do your event. Like, we're so excited. They went as far as saying like, we're absolutely doing it. They sent a menu for the night in the text messages, like an actual menu. They had agreed upon a price, everything. Like, it was, they were doing it.
So wait, why did they say in the show tonight, Angie wrote, keep it secret? Now, I know why she said that, but why did Andy say that on the show? Make sure.
I think just to kind of like show, like, to kind of throw Angie under the bus a little bit, like she's keeping secrets from you. She was never really your friend. The thing is, though, is if you're on the show, you know you cannot tell cast members about these events until you're telling them on the show. So, like, of course she's going to say, do not tell Lisa. Like, don't tell Lisa, because if Lisa finds out before, like, that, I'm going to be in trouble. Like, that's what Angie's thinking.
Yeah, she was thinking, like, I don't want to, like, lose my casting opportunity because I broke a rule.
Right. And at that point, too, with like Angie, Jenny, and me, it was all kind of like we had been casted, but it still was kind of like a tryout of who was going to get the full-time position.
Yeah. Well, they hadn't signed you guys as friends yet, right? They're sort of like,
they were trying us out.
Yes. So you guys, it's gotten more ruthless than when I was on the show. So when I was on the show, if they thought they were going to cast you, they'd make you a friend. They'd shoot you all season, and then they might upgrade you to housewife. But in SaraJane's situation in Salt Lake City, the way they do it is they don't actually give anyone any contract.
Nothing.
Until the end. And they're like, let's just see how far you'll take it. And then you get some sort of contract. And usually in their franchise, it's a housewife contract, but I'm sure they also will do friends if that comes up, you know, a friend of. But they really make them suffer. Because
it's like 4 to 6 weeks of just like giving them everything. And not only that,
see, I wouldn't have done it. I would never have been, there would have been no $25,000 sunglasses.
Exactly. Like,
I would not have done it. If they had done it that way with me, no effing way. I almost said no when they said you can't be a housewife off the bat. But then I was like, well, you know, it's true. I might not be great at this. Like, I recognized that this was like not exactly fitting my mojo, you know?
Totally. Yeah. And doing the show is expensive. Like, I think Angie on that event probably spent like near $30,000 just on that event.
Yeah. And they're like, here's your $800 throw you for your.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about it on the Patreon. It's so
$800. Thanks.
Here's some cheese and crackers I got at Costco.
Here's a bottle of wine. Have a great party and let's film it. Okay.
So funny. But anyway, I think that he said, like, brought up the don't tell Lisa, because he knew that like the viewers would be like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
don't tell Lisa. But she couldn't tell Lisa. She just
Well,
couldn't.
it was really bad. I actually texted Angie. I'm sure she probably had better things to do than look at my DMs, but I texted her that I was outraged because you shouldn't.
It was really upsetting.
They came for her so hard on part 1 of this reunion, and she's not sitting in the chair. Now, given maybe Angie didn't want to go all the way, with, a friend of or housewife or whatever. I don't know the story. She would obviously never breach anything with them because she's still casting. But what I can say is I felt it was really unfair to have someone so predominantly mentioned in the reunion and in such a like derogatory way with like a fave, which is Heather. She's a fan favorite. She's a lead. She's like
she's a pillar. She's one of the pillars.
Yeah. And not have her have the opportunity to defend herself.
Yeah. It's a crappy situation.
Like, actually, this is the most defense Angie Harrington's getting.
Yeah. And you know what? Because she's like my best friend.
Yeah.
I will defend her to the nail. Like, yes. And so the text messages that Andy said were not accurate. This is something you guys need to know. This is very important.
I like when you go, oh,
it's like something that came to my mind. So we're at my house. We're talking about, she invites me and Lisa to her event on camera. We're like, oh yeah, this will be fun. La-di-da-di-da-di-da. Lisa leaves. 2 hours later. And these caterers were so excited, like that morning, sent her the menu, sent her everything. 2 hours later, they sent her a text. Sorry, we can't do it anymore. That's basically it. And Angie was like, okay, like.
So she knew something was up because she said, keep it secret, because she knew they could only do one. And so in the end, she knew Lisa came in. That's how she knew Lisa did it.
Yeah, and I honestly, the caterers could do whatever they want. The caterers could do theirs. They could do Lisa's. They could have done something for me if I wanted to. Why couldn't if you're paying the caterers, why couldn't they do it? It's more business for them. Like, especially in the middle of a pandemic, like you would think that they would want to take the business.
Yeah.
It just seems very, very odd. And so anyway, I honestly, like, I know that Lisa totally had something to do with it, because 2 hours later, she calls the caterers text and say like, yeah, we're not doing it anymore. So it just seems really weird to me. But I mean, honestly, it just kind of seems to me, just from things that Lisa has done in the past, it just seems like it's something that she is possibly capable of doing.
Oh, I totally think she did, even though she said she didn't. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Okay, so a weird thing happens at the reunion. Meredith starts crying. She says there's so much stuff that like again, guys, pissed off Dana because I'm like listening about a bunch of stuff I didn't get to watch. So she's like, let's first talk about Angie and this whole thing that we didn't get to see. And then like the Lego. And then now I've got to listen about Meredith, who had all these problems I didn't get to watch.
Yeah. And you're like,
it's not like I want to see her misery, but I at least want to understand what's making her tick. Right.
Yes.
And so like the whole show that's really great is happening off the show. Really,
honestly, if people could see the backstory of what happens, that could be a better show than the show.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that's why I'm realizing like I just should have a show about like what's happening not on the show, because then my show would be better.
Well, and sometimes producers are like, oh, we can't talk about that because that will affect, but some of that stuff is like a gold. Like, Dana, I think you're on.
Let me tell you something. Okay, so
somebody's nice to me.
No, that's actually the same person as before.
Oh,
that was talking about the church. So, so what she's saying is like, like this is really important for SaraJane to learn because she hasn't been in the public eye very long. Like she's just getting in.
I'm just starting out, guys.
And she gets upset because, you know, she doesn't understand how it all works yet. And so people are really, they just want you to speak your truth. They want you to talk about the difficult stuff when you can. If you're not ready, you just say, I'm not ready, and you own it. And then people will accept, you know, they may not like your side. They may think, you know, I don't like you, but they'll accept you.
Exactly.
For who you are. And you do you, and they do them, and that's all good. And I really appreciate that. Thank you. And
that's
she's
very
in the
sweet.
rainforest.
Thank you so much.
That was a really good lesson for SaraJane. You're so good. Okay. All right. God, my aunts get the heat on in here. I feel like
we need to fan you. I'll fan you. Can you feel
oh my God. It's like, wow. I don't know. Okay,
yeah.
maybe it's the wine.
So yeah, it could be. I mean,
you never know.
I'm kind of hot too. Maybe it's my Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
So back to Meredith.
So yes. So Meredith starts weeping. She's realizing she's got all these family problems I wasn't privy to. And she cries and says that's why she's lashed out at Jen and she wants to apologize. And now I guess she can be friends with Jen. Was that what the takeaway? Did you get that?
Yes, that's kind of, I don't know if I would consider them like friends, but I think that they are definitely like communicating. They're being very nice to each other. Good job, SaraJane. Thank you.
See, I told you you're going to get the swing of this.
That's the H, and we will be best friends.
Oh yeah, SaraJane uses no H, but I did that in the beginning.
But I think I corrected you very quickly, right?
SaraJane's name is, we actually have a joke on the podcast. I'm Dana Ann. She's SaraJane. I'm like, I mean, it's hard. It is. I love it. But it is good because, you know, if I ever get angry at you, I don't have to like find your middle name.
Oh, you
know, like I'll just like normally I'd be like, God damn you, Sarah. Now I'll be like, SaraJane, get in this room.
Exactly. You know, and it like, okay, little story about my name. It's SaraJane, one word, no space, but the J's capitalized, no H. It's so confusing.
It's like a sign.
I'll take anything at this point, though. The names my brothers have called me growing up, they could say like anything.
Your mom already branded you from the beginning. She's like, we're going to just make a brand out of SaraJane. Well, she's have jeans or something will happen. For sure.
Anyway, but thank you. That comment means a lot. You guys are so nice.
Yeah, we have a good group. We have
back to Meredith.
Yay. All right. Yes, Meredith. So she's crying. So what do you know? Like, what the hell was that all about?
Okay, so
Meredith, we had lunch with her.
Oh, I love Meredith. We talk all the time. She's like literally like Meredith gives the best advice. And I think I said that on the Patreon too. She really does give wonderful advice that is not self-serving.
Sure.
It's always what you need for you in the moment. So I think Meredith, actually, I do know Meredith was going through some things that were really, really hard. Obviously, it's her thing to tell and stuff. And I think they were very emotional. When we're going through emotional things, I think it's hard just to keep it together all the time. And these women literally were terrorizing Meredith. And she just got to her wit's end and just like freaked out, you know. I think that's normal.
Was it the FBI like saying that she talked to the FBI? Is that it, or what was
I think it made her upset. I think Jenny really upset her.
What the hell? They didn't show it. So what the hell did Jenny do to Meredith? Like they imply it, but they never show it. So
yeah, I think that, and I have stuff written in my notes. I think that Jenny, well, one thing that was hard for Meredith, and I do know this, like from my personal relationship with Meredith, one thing that was hard for her was Jenny's relationship with Mary and the way that Jenny treated Mary. You saw the whole thing. Like Jenny really was rude to Mary, like throwing the glass at her. You know what's funny? Like she says she threw the glass at the floor. I'm like, if you're even throwing a glass in somebody's direction, you're throwing it at them.
Of course. But what did Jenny just verbally attacked Meredith? Or like, to me, sorry, but Lisa's saying she's a whore. She's screwing around on her husband. I mean, these are big allegations. And like, I'm seeing, I just am not seeing Jenny as like that bad to Meredith.
Right,
But maybe they didn't show it. That's what I'm asking.
And I don't think they did, because I think of a lot of it. I love, you know what? I'm going to brush mine too.
It's so upsetting when it gets like gross on here.
Oh my gosh.
My hair is so dry from the East Coast water.
Wow.
Thank God I'm traveling. Okay.
Look how much better our hair looks. Look, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Wait, stop. Okay. I kind of want to go like golden like you now after this.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a little ash.
Yeah, I like it though. I tried it. My hair naturally pulls.
I match the curtain.
You match your curtain. But okay, so with Meredith, a lot of it roots from, in my opinion, with Jenny and Mary. Meredith and Mary are good friends. Like, they get along really, really well. They have like a really sweet relationship with one another. They talk like off camera, and one thing that's like cool about them too is when they're talking, they talk about them. They don't have to sit and badmouth the other women, which I think is pretty cool. So anyway, I think that Meredith didn't like the way that Jenny was treating Mary. And I think because it was her friend, she's like, I need to stick up for her. I need to stick up for her. And because of that, I think that Meredith just like took it as like Jenny kind of being rude to her. And Jenny, honestly, like from things that I was watching in the season, I was like, Jenny is rude to Meredith. Like, even when she had said something along the lines like, well, I've known you for like quite a while and you're just really cold. It's like, Jenny, you knew Meredith for like a week. Like, only a week. You can't, you know what I mean? Don't say you've known her forever. And so I just think it was like one of those things where Meredith is trying to stick up for her friend Mary. And so Jenny attacks her. Also, I
would have attacked. I feel like that's a missed opportunity with these women, though. I feel like everybody has so much respect for Meredith as a person that they're losing track of the fact that Meredith is sticking up for Mary. And Mary, like, I know, like, Andy was really trying to get to this tonight on the reunion. It was sort of like, at what point do you go to your friend? Listen, you can be respectable. You can be classy. You can be like this really awesome person, but you're sticking up for an asshole.
Okay. So I will tell you
anymore, you know, like, you represent the wrong thing. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Can I give you some tea though? This comes straight from Meredith's mouth.
Okay. Because Meredith, by the way, told me at one point during the season, she was thinking of quitting. Really?
Yeah, I think that's
the real thing. Yeah.
But I think that goes through everybody in the show. I think they've all been like, I want to quit. But Meredith has actually told me this. While I was watching the episode, I wrote this down.
Great.
Mary, from the very beginning, was like literally terrorized by Jenny, because Mary had told Meredith that Jenny was racist. She had done racial things to her in the past, and just like off camera, and like certain.
Jenny was a racist. This is what Mary said.
Yeah. I mean, which kind of like, in a way, you look at watching the episodes, you're like, seems more like maybe Mary was by the things that were said.
You know what happened in the beginning of season 1, which I have to call out because I'm so privy to so much gossip. Okay. So I get like everything.
You get it all.
Right. So Jen was calling Heather a racist.
Jen was calling Heather yes.
a racist. And Shrek, and, you know, a bunch of awful things that I don't know how Heather ever would forgive her, but whatever, that was her cross to bear. What also was transpiring was that Mary was being racist, and then Jenny was being racist.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, I mean, I don't, you know,
So I think what happened is
like everybody's got a gun like this.
They do. But Mary had told Meredith this from the very beginning. And so I think Meredith knew this and was like kind of looking out for Mary. And like, I got to stick by Mary's side. Like she is very like kind of in a fragile state. I mean, honestly, I think Mary didn't show up to the reunion because she was scared of Jenny. She just thrown the glass at her. I honestly think she was scared of Jenny.
Okay, so let me tell you why she really didn't show up at the reunion.
Okay, tell me.
I love you. But you're definitely like
Wrong.
Salt Lake City sweet. Okay.
We're Salt Lake City.
You're Salt Lake City.
I
get it because when I was on Beverly Hills, like there were things I couldn't face.
Right.
Okay. Because they were too close to me and I was programmed a certain way.
Right.
The reason that Mary didn't go to the reunion, I'm going to speculate.
Was it her church?
Is her church.
Yeah.
Because what has come out is that Mary is running a cult in the way that is a proper cult, which is that you make people pay money and you don't use the money for the church or the community or what they think you're spending it on. You use it for yourself.
Okay.
And then when you need more, you demand it. And there's all these different ways of getting it and whatever manipulation tactics. And when people leave, you punish them, you make them frightened, you know, all this stuff, right? Yeah. So Mary started getting some serious heat in the public arena about her church. And what was happening, I would imagine, is that her church members were leaving. So it was making sense for her to not be on the show anymore because she didn't want to lose any more followers to her church.
Yeah. I could see that. I could totally see that.
And I think Meredith was very irresponsible, although I like Meredith and I respect what she's trying to depict, although I didn't like when she was selling everything in the beginning. I liked that Meredith, I didn't respect Meredith for making a decision that even though you like someone, they may not be a good friend to have.
Yeah.
You know
I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. I think at that moment though, Meredith was like, you know what, we are good friends. She's nice to me. We get along great. And I think right at the beginning, when Mary told Meredith, Jenny is racist, she's done this X, Y, and Z to me, I think that's why Meredith felt like she needed to stand by her side. I will say this because I saw the tweet. There was a tweet. They were all trying to take down Mary. There was a tweet from Lisa Barlow that she tweeted, and it said, "Who wants to take Mary down?" Did you ever see that?
No, and of course, but Lisa's playing to the crowd.
She's playing to the crowd, but I think Mary was like, well, I could take you down. You know what I mean? And so
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Who takes Mary down? I mean, like Mary, let's see. Unfortunately, that casting choice for Bravo was not a great one, in my opinion. Yes. Because
okay. You know what? I actually will agree with that. And because I think I say this on the Patreon too, I've lived in Utah my entire life. I have never, if they're trying to get a good depiction of ladies in Utah, I have never met anybody like Mary. My whole time ever living here, Mary's the only person that I've ever like seen like behave like that or act like that. And so I totally agree with you. I don't think it was the best casting decision.
No, and like there were so many bad casting. Yeah, I'm like with this group because really, truly, Mary, if the producers said to Meredith, be friends with Mary, that was like really unfair to Meredith.
Yeah.
Because I'd be going, you want me to, because you know how they order you to have dinner and lunch with people and all that crap. Mm-hmm. So when the producers feel like, oh, someone's left out and they still want them to be in the show, they'll make you go have lunch with them.
Right.
Okay. So the thing I wouldn't like as Meredith is I'm stuck with Mary. So I'm like, great, you give me the cult leader. That's what I get. So I got to be friends with her and I got to look like the strong friend of Mary, you know. I wouldn't like that. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I almost want to believe it was like a producer driven thing because Meredith seems like she is actually so kind of ethical and
Very,
like,
very
so
ethical.
how do you justify, maybe in Salt Lake City it's different, maybe you guys it's like grayer, but like how do you justify, I get like Jen from the standpoint of, you're innocent till proven guilty.
Yeah.
Definitely rely on that. Although if she threatened me, I just kick her ass. But I'm just saying, like, but Mary,
Yeah.
when you know someone is doing something and playing on people's fears and religion and taking their money, like I'd be like, you're not putting me with this person because I don't care how nice she is to me. She's not nice to 300 people in her church.
Her congregation. So I totally understand what you're saying. I can see that completely. Where I think Meredith was like, I do have to stick by her side. I'm going back to what I said before. Meredith, from the very beginning, was told by Mary that Jenny was treating her bad.
That's the problem. This is what she's saying is the problem, is that like you've got to have the nut, cult leader to make the show.
She makes excellent TV. That episode, like a few ago, where Jen Shaw goes to her church and they're like, clap. Okay, there is this point, if you have ever seen, I hope this doesn't like get me in trouble with what I'm saying, but I have to say it. So there is this point where the women are like standing and clapping and like chanting and hollering, and Jen Shaw's like just kind of looking around. Yeah. The first thing that came to my mind, if you have ever seen the movie called Witches from like the early 90s, when they're at the Grand High Witch convention and they're all like yelling for her, it reminded me of that.
So it was just like this, like what you're saying is it was like very culty and like wild.
It did feel that way. I will say though, people like that person before had said, the church that I am is
it's like the C word meaning cult.
Yeah. And so maybe her congregation, they don't think that, and that is their faith. Like for me, I'm like, I love my faith. I love it. So maybe I'm just trying to play devil's advocate right now.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Maybe her congregation just loves it and it brings them the peace. Like it brings me, I don't know if that's the case because, kind of looking into her church. Okay. For instance, if like the church leaders in my church were using like our tithing money and like buying Chanel and these I would literally be like, excuse me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
you'd
they're
be
not
wondering like what's happening.
Mary looks every time, like her closet basically is a Louis Vuitton, Chanel, like every designer store, it's like that store in her closet. So anyway,
no, you're right. I mean,
it is a little bit alarming and it is like super questionable. And I agree somewhere in the middle with you and Meredith. I do think like a lot of the reason why she didn't show up was because of her church, but I do think she was terrorized by Jenny as well. If somebody threw a glass at me and like said these things, I think I would be a little bit like nervous as well. But one thing with this show, you know what show you're on the moment you do it. This is not Little House on the Prairie, Wives, whatever. This is like Real Housewives. This is the fighting show where they go back and forth. So you just kind of know that going into.
Well, I still want to ask one question, and maybe when you go to lunch with Mare, you could ask her this.
I'll ask her
before the next, like our part 2.
Yeah, and maybe I already know this already. Okay, ask.
It's an important question. How can you be friends, even though they're nice to you, with somebody who is definitely running some sort of inappropriate church?
Yeah. I think Meredith's answer. I will ask. I will ask.
I want to know. This is
her.
important because she knows who she follows. She looks at my shit. She knows exactly who I am.
Yeah, I'm
Where
going to
I'm
ask her
coming
that.
from.
But I will say, like, I think what she would probably say is she was scared of Jenny. Mary was. She felt like she needed to stand by her side because she said Jenny was racist. And on the show, the person that is the most racially correct is Meredith. She's the only one that has never said anything that's like slightly like.
I don't know. I think Meredith's actually not doing great in that area.
Really?
Yeah. No, I know you're her friend, so I'm saying this in a really productive.
No, and I love that. I love the.
I'm being really productive.
It's good to have her opinion.
She didn't stand up for anybody, really. She should have said like, you're inappropriate. I don't like any of you people at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you don't talk nice to each other. You don't respect each other. And she should have probably said, I don't like Mary, and her church. I think what she's doing is wrong. I actually don't like, I actually would have been an island if I was Meredith. I would have been alone.
And she did bring it up in the reunion. She did say, I wish I would have spoke up more at that moment.
Yeah.
When she said the whole thing about Jenny with her, when Mary said like her slanty eyes or whatever she had said. And she said that she wishes she would have maybe stood up more in that moment. And I bet just from knowing Meredith, I bet she looks at that as like, maybe like, okay, I'm learning from that. I'm going forward. Maybe it's one of my regrets that I did or whatever, but yeah. I'm gonna ask Meredith that.
Ask her because she said, I judge people for how they treat me. Okay. Yeah. But I somehow think Meredith presents herself that she actually judges people on more than that.
Okay.
So I'm disappointed that it didn't translate in the Mary relationship. If production shoved her with Mary, which is what I think happened, I wish she had used it as a platform to kind of, instead of being like, well, I'll be a blinded by love friendship, stood up to something and said, right. You know what? I like you. I thought you were a good person, but I'm getting these vibes that you're not. And that's a problem. Like, correct yourself and see what happens. Mary would have gone psycho. It would have still been great. It would have been better TV because the fans are sitting there going, somebody do it.
In Meredith's opinion, she might know more about like the whole church. I don't know a lot about Mary's church. But maybe she knows more and is like more insightful with that. Yeah. To where she is kind of standing by her side. Maybe something we don't know. I'm going to ask her.
Ask her because it's definitely like the thorn in everyone's side with Meredith.
Yeah, sure. I'm 100% going to ask her.
Okay, love it. Okay, now, do you believe that Jenny gave Meredith's husband used golf balls?
Yes, Meredith does not make up lies. I 100% believe that.
Here, watch this. Ready? Show that to Meredith.
So true. A minority person, the only words bigger are people who stand by and watch it happen.
And don't say something's wrong.
Oh, no.
And the same with running a cult, guys. That's also wrong. Yeah. You should stand up to people running cults and say, don't do that. No. Bad. Okay. So do you think that Jenny did yeah,
I think so. I think so. I think Jenny probably did. Her husband. Okay.
That's terrible.
I don't know why would Meredith make that up? One thing in this show,
think you would. It's awful though.
Yeah. One thing in this show, and Dana, you totally know this.
Yeah.
If you tell a lie, it is going to come out. So you're not going to tell like stupid lies about golf balls. So I think Jenny's husband did. I think
so. But I want to ask you this. Would you have turned down Mary's boots? Because although I've said a lot of really bad stuff about Mary tonight, I'm going to come clean and say I would have taken those goddamn Louboutins and I would have worn them
Okay, I have to tell you this. When we were there at that party, because I was there that night, she tells me, Jenny's like, carrying this bag. I'm like, what's in the bag? And she like opens it up. I'm like, these are beautiful. She goes, I'm giving them back to Jen. I was like, what's wrong with you? I think I told her that. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And I was
Jenny,
like,
you mean Jenny to marry?
Jenny to marry. Yes, yes, yes. Jenny.
Were you the one who said what's wrong with you when she
I said, what's wrong with you?
I remember that. Yeah.
Like, I literally was like, I freaking would, like, if you don't want them, I will take them.
No, exactly. I was like, yeah, no, that's one thing that I'm really ashamed to say. I'm really going to say this because that's
Mary gave you the boot.
Typically, like, it's very hypocritical of me. But I have a soft spot for Louboutins, you know, like, I mean, you know, used, new, pretty much any way you'll give them to me, really.
You know what? It's a little gift. You take the gift, whatever.
Yeah, I know. That's terrible of me. I'm sorry, everyone. Please forgive me for my shortcomings.
Actually, I'm not sorry. I would have taken the boots gladly.
I'm like, it was bought with probably like church dark evil money, but
probably was. But it's like when you go on eBay and you buy something and you're like, it probably was stolen, but like I'm getting a way better deal here.
All right. So now let's see. Heather versus Angie. Oh, okay. What really blew my mind was this scene at the end of the reunion part 1 where it's Heather versus Lisa, and she's calling out Angie Harrington as being really rich and Lisa as being fake rich. And I was so confused by this because Heather is like always depreciating or deprecating. I don't know what's the word, but she's always that way. And she kind of puts herself down and she comes off as humble and she's like, I don't like not about money. And this was sort of a weird statement for her.
Of Heather.
Yeah, of Heather to say like, you know, Angie's really rich and you're not, and you're faking it. And then she was like saying like, almost like I it's not the money, it's that you're faking it, but like.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little side story.
Okay.
One of Lisa Barlow's friends, I will not say her name, she's very private, but it's one of her best friends. They have oodles of money. Every single picture you see of Lisa getting on a jet is these people's jet. Every single picture you see of her on a houseboat in Lake Powell, it's these people's houseboat. Every single thing that you see of her on a vacation, these people are taking her on vacation. Everybody knows that.
Okay.
That's not new news. So I think she's saying you're faking it because you're like borrowing your, I don't know, like
your inspirational social media is related to someone's dough that you're trying to pretend like it's yours.
Mm-hmm. And that actually is accurate on Heather's behalf. So I understand that, where Angie has never like gone on somebody else's dime ever. Everything has been from her and her husband.
So Heather's point in that was, Lisa, you're pretending to be rich and you're not. Is that right?
I think so. I think it was just one of those things. Lisa always comes off as like, I'm rich, I'm Miss Perfect, I'm this and this and this, like blah, 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 you know? And so I think the women are like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of you acting that way. And like, oh, you remember a couple episodes ago, Lisa Barlow says, I'm the richest one here.
She did.
I hear that?
I probably tuned it out. Yeah, that's so lame.
Yeah. She's crying in the bathroom. It's like after she throws the mic.
Oh, yeah.
She goes in the bathroom. They're all in there. Heather's trying to like calm her down. And she goes, I'm the richest one here.
Okay, so that makes sense why Heather did it. It does now. She was like coming for Lisa for saying that. I get it.
Yeah. And also I think that Lisa does come on, like she does want to paint this picture that she has like all this stuff and everything. And it's like, and I think Heather's point was just like, just come as you are. will love you either way. You don't need to like fake what you have. Material things are so important to Lisa. I mean, every single time if you like give her a compliment, like, oh, I love your shirt, instead of just being like, thank you, she's like, it's Gucci. Or like, I love you.
She sounds like me.
Like, it is.
So I get that. I probably would like that in Lisa, but I get what you're saying.
You would like it, but this is the thing. I've done that before too. Somebody's like, I like
to give information. Like if you tell me you like my shirt, I'm like, here's where to get it.
Exactly. And Lisa's like, okay, this is funny though. This is actually funny. One time, like, I think it was Heather or somebody had mentioned to Lisa, like, oh, I love your bag. And it was like a Bottega bag. And she said, what is it? Or whatever, because they don't have like their logo on it. And it was in those bags, became really popular. And Lisa said something, if I'm remembering the story right, she said, I'm sorry, I don't share information like that. I just don't like people to copy me.
Oh my God.
Just funny. I mean, there are some people, like, whatever, that you don't want copying you. And maybe in that moment she was like, I don't want Heather or Whitney copying me because we're not friends.
She thinks they're cheap, obviously.
She does. And that's very accurate. But I think in that moment, what?
She said that she thought they were both like trashy and cheap.
Yeah. And I think in that moment, Heather was like, you just said you're the richest person here. And so I'm going to throw it back at you. And she did. And Lisa didn't like it. Lisa does not like to be questioned about like her financial. One thing though, that I've always like, my rule of thumb is Lisa likes to talk about her stuff over and over and over and over, really just like nailing it in. And it's one thing to be like, oh, it's this, and you're still a cool person. But she loves to like throw it so much. And it's kind of like, if you have to talk about it so much, you probably don't have it.
Yeah, take it from me. Did you know? Okay, just kidding. 25,000. All right.
You still have those sunglasses?
Oh, of course I do. Of course. I actually, you know what?
Reaching for them?
Oh no!
Oh, I thought you were like reaching for them. Oh, of course.
My notebook. That was the end of my reunion notes. No, yeah, I'm a mysterious woman.
You are very mysterious.
I have lots of mysterious things, including those glasses. I like it that way. So tell me something. Is there any other notes that we didn't cover from part 1 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
Let me pull them up.
Reunion.
One thing I did right. I mean, I don't even really want to like.
They do. They live on, you guys. There's so many things that live on. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it said live. Okay, live on. Yes, those sunglasses live on. I thought she was saying she wanted to live on.
They do live on. Oh my God. I have some days, Sarah, I'm going to get up for a second because my computer for some reason is going to die.
Dana needs to get up for a second, but I'm going to talk
about talking, love. Keep talking.
I'm going to talk about some things that like maybe we didn't hit. I don't even want to bring Jenny up because she's not on it anymore. We all know what happened with her, but I felt like she was trying so much to claim her spot during the season, but because of everything that happened, they didn't give her a lot of airtime during the reunion.
Well, no, they didn't, I think, edit it. I think what happened was Jenny fell into something that happens a lot. After season 1, the OGs don't want to give anyone space. They don't want to give, at all. You would have been dying because they would have been like, I'm not giving you shit. I'm not giving you time. I'm not giving you airtime. I don't want to shoot with you. Unless the producers say, go shoot with you. It's struggle. You have to really like break through. And these women don't want to give it up. Let me tell you.
They don't.
Heather gave you a bone, but she was giving you a bone knowing that the fans, a lot of them would hate you for it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was like, I'll give you a bone, meaning I'll give you a place on the show, but it's going to be a place that you're probably not going to be happy with in the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So some of my other notes is when they all raise their hand, is Lisa a pot stirrer? Everybody raised their hand. I know. I literally was like, raising my hands too. I thought that was funny. And she was like so offended. But I noticed too in the reunion, every single thing that was like said something. Okay, this was interesting.
Yeah.
It gets brought up that Meredith and Jen are getting along. And instead of like Lisa being like, I'm glad you girls are getting along. I'm so glad. You know what I mean? She makes it about her. She's like, and you never got along and now you are. And this is blah, blah, blah. And she somehow twists it into like her. She did that so much in the reunion. And I was like, Lisa, not everything is about you.
Well, Lisa's really good at, she's good at it. She's really good at it. She's good at twisting.
She twists and manipulates. At the very, very end, I'm super excited for next week.
Look, watch, ready?
I'm ready.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh. See? Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people love her because she really does stir the pot. She makes the show like without Lisa, honestly, I just don't think there would be much of a show because Lisa is the center of all the drama. She creates it. So
there's been conversations that Andy's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this show without Jen, without Mary. Like, have you noticed that on Instagram, they haven't even added the theme song to it yet?
Oh, I haven't even noticed that.
Sorry.
So next week, I'm very excited for the episode because at the very end of the reunion part 1, it ends with them talking kind of about Lisa's rant that she does to Meredith.
Yeah. So is Meredith a hooker? Did she fuck like all these guys in New York? Like what's your feeling on that?
Absolutely.
Give us a preview.
Absolutely no. If Meredith would have done that, her husband would have left her long before. I know Seth, and there's no way that he would like do that. I have, but was she wrong? About what she was saying about, no, she was absolutely like, honestly, what she said about Meredith was absolutely false in every sort of way. And I mean, I feel like I'm like,
are you sure Meredith isn't a slut deep down inside?
I am positive she is not. Like positive.
How did we make up that? Like, why did Lisa pull that out though? It's so unbelievable.
Well, one thing that I have noticed about Lisa is a lot of times what Lisa projects a lot and what she's normally trying to get the attention off her. So she'll be like, she did this, she did that, she did this, she did that, to kind of get the attention off her, to make her look like she's perfect.
Is it because Lisa might be having an affair?
Possibly. I mean, I have no idea. But sometimes
there's gossip about Lisa having an affair in the Patreon.
Yes. So there is one thing I do know is a lot of times what Lisa Barlow is projecting, a lot of times it's what she's doing. I do not know if that's the case, but I don't know if she's having affairs, but
you guys listen, after tonight, make sure you tell everybody that we're doing this next week. So you guys have your questions ready for any of like, for SaraJane, like, you know, you kind of thought about them and you're ready to rock. Because we can like really get SaraJane going.
You can get me going. I mean,
I've done it in the Patreon.
I'm like, woo! So, but okay, about the rant though that she said about, you guys need to listen to the Patreon because we do go into that.
Yes. I know she's so good. She's trying to.
I feel like I'm trying to like be
she's
like
trying to tease too.
I'm trying to tease and I'm trying to have good behavior. I want to be invited back.
Yeah. So then Dad died right after the beginning of the season. Yeah, I know. That was terrible. And and COVID, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's really, that's so sad. And so anyway, but
Meredith knows Harry Dubin you're talking about, right?
I don't know Harry. I've never.
So yeah, no, Harry Dubin was gossiping. It's alleged that Meredith was fooling around with women in New York.
What?
fooling around with women in New York. That was.
Oh, I thought you said pulling her own appointment. I'm like, what is
no.
that?
Yeah, Meredith was pulling her own appointment in New York.
You guys remember in season 1, Meredith and Seth at the very, very beginning, they had talked about how they had some marital problems.
Yes, and that's why everybody was like, okay, she's cheating.
So I know they had some marital problems. They definitely had, they like were separated completely. And I think they had like divorce papers like ready to sign. So I think both of them were maybe dating other people. I don't know the whole situation. So
they were definitely dating other people.
Yeah, but now they're back together. And since they're back together, that is not happening. I mean, they're very faithful to each other. They have a very, very sweet and loving marriage. I've seen it firsthand. Like, I feel like I need to set the record straight for that because.
So what happened was Harry Dubin allegedly was gossiping and saying that Meredith was having a lesbian affair in New York, or, same, girl thing.
A lesbian affair?
Yeah. And that also she might have hooked up with Jen.
Oh, I saw that. Honestly, I just rolled my eyes.
And so that's what they said. And then there was rumors that Meredith was dating a lot of different guys in New York, some of which were on The Real Housewives of New York. And there were blinds released about this. And so this is what was said about Mare. And this is why like all this is happening.
And so and you know what? Like, I don't know the whole situation of that, but if that is true, it was definitely happening when her and Seth were completely separated, like divorce papers. Like
that was when this was all rumored to have occurred.
Okay.
So this relationship, this hookup with Jen, this like lesbian affair, this like meeting guys in New York that were overlapping with New York housewives was alleged to have happened when Seth and her were not together.
Okay. If they weren't together, like it makes sense. Meredith she seems very devoted to her family and her husband now. And so I disagree with what Lisa said on a lot of different levels.
I don't know. I'd love to know if Harry Dubin's good in bed. He's certainly rich.
Money's good. Money's nice.
Yeah. You never know.
But anyway,
that are over. I'm never dating a rich guy again. Only like a really hot guy who's good.
You want a hot guy that's good.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like, forget money.
What if you find a hot rich guy that's good in bed?
Because they always are narcissists. They're like, not your Nick, obviously, but most rich men are narcissistic and sociopathic. And they really do, like, they want you to live their way. They want control. Oh. And I like don't want to be controlled anymore. I want to be free.
You want to be free. You know what? My husband knew the moment he married me that I was like such a free bird. He's like, there's no controlling her. I love her. I'm going to marry her.
Well, you're like, you don't need to be, you're like so regimented. Like, you're great.
No,
I'm wild. Like, try to restrain me. Forget it.
We all have a wild side, all of us. But back to Lisa's rant, though, it is definitely going to be interesting next week. With why? I want to see what happens with Lisa and Meredith when Lisa what I think will happen is Lisa maybe kind of tries to apologize, but doesn't. And maybe she'll make it about her because she makes it all about her. And I'm excited to kind of see like how Meredith like takes it and stuff, you know?
Well, let's hope Meredith gets like,
I think she'll be mad. I think I personally, this is one thing that I know that Meredith it's so rude because first of all, it is your friend of over a decade. Like you just don't say that about your friend over a decade, even if they're your enemy. It was a very low blow, in my opinion, for Lisa to say that. Lisa's rant was really ugly. It was so ugly. And anybody who has a friend, we all have a friend, but anybody who has like a best friend and stuff, that is just such a low blow. It's like,
right. Tell everybody truly, because there's a lot of fake friendships and housewives. How long did Lisa really know Meredith? Because I know.
Yeah, I think I said this on the Patreon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that they really actually knew each other for maybe like 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they really knew each other. One thing that Lisa does though is she exaggerates. So if you've known Lisa for maybe a year, you've been friends with her for 5 years. If she says she's worth $30 million, she's probably worth $300,000. Like, do you know what I mean? Everything is like super duper exaggerated with her. Like her timelines never really add up because they're all like, and maybe in her mind, maybe in Lisa's mind, she seems like this person that like truthfully believes those types of things.
What do you think they need to do to get the ratings up? Because the ratings have been kind of
okay. I don't know anything about the ratings. Tell me.
Okay, so everybody loves the show. There's absolutely, like, you can ask anyone. They'll be like, I love Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, or I'm dying to watch it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But the ratings have been not great. And so what do you think the producers should do to get the ratings up?
I think, in my personal opinion, I think they need more humor. People love humor. I think they need a lot more humor on the show. I think that they should cast. I do think they should cast Angie Harrington. I don't know what's happening with that whole situation, but from her brief appearance, people loved her.
Yeah.
Like, loved her. And if they're looking for somebody that
she's classy, she's kind of a Lisa Vanderpump in all this. Yeah.
she's very, very classy. So
she cuked on camera.
Like, I know.
I was like, what? She doesn't
literally
drink.
was like,
Angie! A little inside scoop. Angie doesn't drink ever. So
hardly
the
ever.
producers made her drink or like suggested it, whatever, however you want to, politically correctly.
Well, I think she was on like, she has a little boy that's like 2 years old. She was like, this is a girl's night. I'm just going to have fun. So like I don't know like alcohol terms, but from what I've heard is like 2 shots maybe isn't going to get somebody like completely drunk where they're throwing up. And I think for her, she was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot, because she never drinks.
Yeah, and she threw up, which was not on brand. That was not on Angie's brand. Just
it was not. That is not Angie's brand at all. It was just,
girl.
I know. We need more friendships. Yes. Okay. So
we need more friendships. I think we need real problems and not this bullshit, and I think we need, and by bullshit, I'm talking about like the petty conversations, not the bigger conversations.
That's exactly how I feel too. They need more. I feel like too.
Like, why didn't one of the friends go, Jenny, your husband's a real douche for wanting to have sister wives? Like, that would have been a great argument.
Okay, so I think part of the reason why people did say that to Jenny was because I think everybody was a little bit scared because Jenny was claiming like a lot of racism to other people. And so maybe they were scared that she would somehow turn it into that and like throw it in their face. Like maybe it's their culture. So I don't know. Like I could see that potentially happening. That's just something I kind of thought of. But I think because of like the day and age we live in, everybody's like a little like, what can I say? What can I say? A little bit.
You guys, what do you think before we go? Because we're going to wrap this up because I've kept her forever. SaraJane's going to be like, wow, this was forever.
You're fine. It's been fun.
I'm glad you're having fun. We're going to have more fun next week. I know what to do. I'm going to I have a plan.
She's got a plan.
I've got an evil plan. Okay. I want to know, you guys, lastly, and I'm going to call up your comments. What can we do to make the show get better ratings, do you think? Because you kind of started it, but you didn't finish it. So give me like 4 really good things we could do to get the ratings up on the show, because it's really only like 500,000 or 600,000 people right now.
What would be considered good ratings?
Okay, like 1 million, 1 million too. Okay, so on my season 1, 2, and 3 of the Housewives, 2 being my main season, it was our ratings were 1.8 million was low, and the like highest rating was 2.2 million.
Yeah.
So Salt Lake City is 500,000.
So they're like a quarter of the way there.
Not even.
Yeah. Oh,
and then Beverly Hills, just so you know, everyone was like, "Oh my God, Erica Jane Girardi, yay! Oh my, she's great," whatever.
yeah.
That season, 1.2 million.
Okay. So this is one thing that these are things that have actually been said to me real quick, and then we can get off this.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
People think they need to cast an actual member of the church, and maybe that would be good because then they could fight with Heather. They could do what I didn't do.
I love this idea. Here.
Yeah, bringing on an actual member of the church.
Yeah, because now Mary comes in, and SaraJane and Angie can kind of battle that out.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You could come for Mary. That would make me happy. I'd watch.
That would be wild.
Oh, here we go.
They need to find real rich. Okay, so and that's why I'm saying
Angie's really rich.
Angie is actually really rich. She's the person that would like get the jet for everybody to go on. She has the funds to do that. She would really do that. She'd go on the cash trip and drop like $10,000 on. She'd buy the $25,000 sunglasses.
Let me see this. Yeah, so, I know. And wow, is that fun? Let me tell you, it was great shit when I did that. Okay, hold on. So, where's the thing? Somebody wrote something I really liked.
Angie,
here we go. We want to see women of substance, and we want to see women who are being authentic.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, like you were saying, the petty drama. It's like, we don't want the petty drama anymore. We just want like the good stuff. So
here, I like this one too, because this is like, here we go. Yes, you're right, Kelly. And I'm going to take that all the way to the bank. And I'm going to just pretend it was my exciting ass that made that 2 million people watch.
Yeah.
I love calling me out like, but Dana, it was a new concept. That's why everyone watched. And I agree, it was. But I'm never, ever, ever going to admit that again after tonight. I'm just going to pretend it was me and that exciting 25.
It was you.
It was.
It was you.
That was.
One other thing I was going to say, like, I just think they need more.
You snooze, you lose. Get on the first few
seasons. You lose.
But they need more the first few seasons of Salt Lake City. So it should be doing a million things if that's the case. It's new.
And I really think they just need more fun. We live like in a world that's kind of heavy right now. And I think people just need more fun and funny. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, what they need is some real drama around some real stuff that isn't so like do or die. Like I'm thinking, like I said, the sister wife thing. Like, how do you feel about having your friend's husband say he wants to screw other women and be married to them? That's a great one, right? Yeah. Because I'd be like, your husband's a douche.
Yeah.
And she might be like, but I love my husband. And I'd be like,
it might kind of be like scary too, being for like what the husband like comes on to you. You're like, woo.
That's what I'm saying. Now there's a freaking season.
Yeah.
Okay. Like her like gross husband's like trying to, take on other housewives to be in this harem. I mean, that's some fun stuff. And like, I think also like debunking that Lisa's poor, like that would be good.
Yeah.
Like, why are we going after anyone's finances? Like, let's do it. Let's go. Like, like, you're renting, like Lisa started it. Someone needs to finish it.
Exactly. Okay? They know what show they're on. They need to perform.
Let's go. And I'm like, what else could we do? Let's talk about like, unfortunately for Seth, like Seth, why are you like sex starved? What's your deal? Like, why are you eating boob cakes? Like, why are you Whitney's thing? Like, someone needs to talk about it. Meredith, are you having sex with Seth? Because it seems like he's a little like needing it. I'm just saying. It's not the first time we've talked about these things on the show, but this is what's great. And then Meredith can be offended, or she could rise to the occasion and say, I don't know.
And I think she would rise to the occasion.
Well, that's where the challenge lies, and that's like the reward at the end of the show. Like we feel good at the end of that show.
Yeah,
You know,
for
I'm
sure.
like, you've loved starved Seth, sleep with him. And she goes, okay. And then everyone is like, yay, okay, that's a good show.
It's a great show. Okay, real quick, talking about Jenny's husband. What's his name? Dewey, right?
Dewey, yes, like that.
Hitting on other women. Okay, this is
good.
funny. When we were at the Wild Rose party, there's like, you barely see it like on the camera, and like you hear me say something along the line like, "Oh, hey Dewey," and Angie says something like, "Wait, what do you do for work?" And he goes, "I'm a love doctor." And I look at him and I go, "I thought you were a chiropractor."
What is he? Is he a chiropractor?
Chiropractor.
I thought he was a plastic surgeon.
No, he is a
chiropractor. Oh my God, Dewey is a what?
He's a
How
chiropractor.
does she have a Marcialago?
The what?
She's a Marcialago.
Yeah, I know.
How?
I think she might work too. I honestly have no idea.
No, she had supposedly a bunch of doctor offices that she sold.
I had heard something like medical supplies or something.
But how do you have a Marcialago? That's a $350,000 car. And then she also has a Tesla.
Yeah.
And and he's a chiropractor?
He's a chiropractor.
Okay, this has just ruined that whole, that's just.
He's a chiropractor.
Wow.
I know.
And he called himself the love doctor?
He called himself the love doctor, and both me and Angie.
The other housewives?
I was like, I thought you were a chiropractor, like literally, but.
No, but I'm sorry, I'm grossed out for you.
I know. I was like, and then when I saw the episode air where he wanted sister wives, whatever, I was like, what if he was
hitting on you guys? No, he was coming on to you.
I know.
Oh my God, Nick!
I know, it's scary.
We're having our own show, guys. Sorry.
So freaking funny.
All right. Okay. So it's 12:30. I think I love you guys too. I know. I love you too so much. Thanks for getting silly. It's bedtime for me.
You need to go to bed.
I know. It's like I'm getting too old for this, SaraJane.
You know what? Next week, maybe just wear your bathrobe. And you can just.
I'm like in a little. Okay, so I'm in Massachusetts. I'm going to come clean. I'm in Mass. My family's from Massachusetts, and I'm visiting my aunt. And it's very chill here. No, where I am in Gloucester, everybody's very relaxed.
They're chill.
Wear very fuzzy shirts and sweaters.
I like that.
Yeah. And I love it, but I'm I'm sort of losing my fashion sense. I don't really wash anymore.
This was me after 2020. I came back into society not even knowing how to have a conversation with people. I go out
No, I'm hard. It's hard to make eye contact. I'm
yeah, my fashion sense though, it's is this cute? It's leggings with a top.
I've been wearing I have leggings and more leggings and then another pair of leggings. And that's all I wear with a big sweater. And I don't even know what I look like anymore because I don't even look in the mirror. And actually tonight was the most that I've looked at myself in 2 weeks. And I'm kind of wow, I'm this. I'm kind of thinking what can I do? It's really horrific.
You look amazing.
I'm going back to Florida and then I'm going to Scotland. Okay.
Fun.
And I'm just praying that I'll get some incentive to care about what I look like again, because I know that sounds so shallow in such a difficult existence that we're all in right now. But I kind of feel I lost a creative outlet, which was the way I used to be able to, do fashion and stuff. And now I have none. It's I don't even know. You know what I mean?
Just put on your $25,000 sunglasses and you don't need anything else.
I know what you're saying. It would be a great end to the show, but they're just not cutting it anymore. I need something more.
I need something more. What? Yeah. You know what? Think of it, and then next week you can.
Okay. All right. Ask Nick. He might have ideas.
I'll have ideas.
All right, you guys. Woo! All right. Mwah. We appreciate you coming. Join us next week for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, season 2, part 2 of the reunion with SaraJane and I spilling the tea.
Yay.
Yay!
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And